The last session of today. Have we all had a fantastic time? I mean, really? Well, yes, of course we have. Lots to learn, lots to connect. Fabulous. Let's get on with it. It's the favorite part of the day. It's also the one before cold drinks. So, exactly, someone's thirsty. Right, tips and tricks times with the ace dynamic duo of Rachelle and Philippe.
Woo! Woo! Thanks, Nick. I feel like we should have some sort of like entrance music or something. Good afternoon, everybody. Woo! We made it. As Nick says, my name is Rachelle Noel, and I'm a sales engineer at Jamf.
Oh, sorry, that's my cue, actually. So my name is Philippe. I'm a technical enablement manager at Jamf, as per what it says on the slide. So let's get cracking.
So we know, it's been a long day. We're probably all looking like puddles at this point. But hopefully we've kind of absorbed a lot of information. It's all a buzz, taking that information back to our organizations and seeing what little nuggets we can implement when we get back. So without further ado, let's whiz along.
No worries. That's fine. I'll take over. So I'll take you through the agenda. As you can see, it's a very, very complex agenda with many subsections, so please make sure that you follow along with each one of these. Now, we're trying to keep it light for you this afternoon. I know that this is the last session of the day, but we've got some really interesting things that we want to go through with you today. The first part is we want to talk about some tips and some tricks, and the second part is just leaving you with all of the great resources that we've put together to hopefully make your lives easier. So as its name suggests, this is our tips and tricks session. And as Rachelle was saying, buckle up, because this one's a doozy. So the question that we had on our mind, and the theme of this entire session was, what if? And this was actually our leitmotif through this entire build. And we thought, what is this thing that we can do to actually make our lives easier, make your lives easier, and hopefully make the lives of your end users easier and better as well. So without further ado, let's get started with the first tip. Are you guys ready? Woo! Yeah, perfect. Okay, everyone's alive. Checking for a pulse. That's fantastic. So let's first talk about SSO with Jamf account. Now, this is a theme that's been going out throughout the day, but we thought that we would present you with maybe some more actual tips to maybe help you improve the end user experience for your users, but also the people logging into your portals. So the what if question here was, is there a way that we can maybe make it easier for people to sign into instances? Is there maybe a way that they can benefit from having to make a change to the way that they've been doing things for a long time? Well, the answer hopefully is yes. And the idea for that is actually something that's called platform services, but I'll get back to that in just a second. Now, I'm going to show you a screen that you've probably seen quite a few times today, and this is the blueprint screen taken from Jamf Pro. And the reason why I'm showing this is because as Jamf administrators, what we've come to expect every time that we sign into any of the platform services that we've got is the ability to access the latest and greatest that Jamf has to offer. So how frustrating is it when you sign into an instance and you get met with a message like this one? And we're here to tell you how to set yourselves up for success so that every administrator out there can actually benefit from the latest and greatest that Jamf has to offer. Remember earlier how I mentioned platform services? Well, I just need to tell you a bit more about those because I love contextualizing my stories. My partner actually tells me that my stories take way too long to go through, but it's because I love context. So you might actually know what platform services are already, because we've mentioned some of them today, but just to refresh your memories, it's been a long day. We've got, for instance, software updates with declarative device management. That's a platform service. We've also got the app installers through the Jamf App Catalog. That's also a platform service. And there are some more that I just wanted to discuss. Now, some of you might have attended JNUC late in the last year, but we announced some pretty cool new features that were coming to Jamf Pro, such as AI Assistant, blueprints, compliance benchmarks, and as we now know, those now kind of exist within the realm of our reality. But I really want you to not consider these as just being new features of Jamf Pro specifically. And I have a 3-year-old, so at the moment I'm doing tons of puzzles at home, so I hope you don't mind that I'm using this analogy, but I think it works really well. Platform services are kind of like a puzzle where pieces are put together to enhance the experience of the management products that we know. And those are Jamf Pro, Jamf School, Jamf Now. But sometimes those particular platforms, they need something to enhance themselves. And that's why they sort of tie into these services to access these functionalities seamlessly within their own interfaces. Now, some of these services, such as blueprints, compliance benchmarks, AI Assistant, they operate externally as part of Jamf Cloud rather than within the individual products themselves. And that's an important thing to keep in mind. Yeah, I love that little animation. So what is it that actually ties all of these things together? What is it that powers all of these things? Well, it's our good friend, single sign-on, or SSO for short. And if we look at those puzzle pieces again, obviously I'm just going to draw your attention to that tiny little tab that I've circled in red. And that is our good friend, single sign-on. We at Jamf leverage a technology that obviously we haven't invented, but it's called OIDC, Open ID Connect. And I just wanted to touch on that really quickly. So we need to understand how all of this works and why SSO is important. You can see I'm sort of making my way towards the actual platform services that we're trying to access. So OIDC is basically the technology that allows us to connect all of these things together. It's what powers those little red arrows that we see on the screen. The one thing that we need to keep in mind is that Jamf Account leverages OIDC in order to access platform services directly from Jamf Account. So how does OIDC work? Well, it's basically just a combination of two things. It's an authority and it's a username. And in this particular case, I'm going to use the example of Jamf Account as being the authority. The authority because they're the one that keep the source of truth with the username, the password in their own database. Now, historically, you might have been using an identity provider or IDP for short, and they are the authority, but that's perfectly fine. You can use Jamf Account, you can use OIDC, you can use IDP. They both are the exact same thing when it comes to maintaining that particular database. And the username in the example that we're going to be using is our Jamf ID, which is basically just a user account type that's hosted in Jamf Account, and that's the authority. Cool. I just said loads of interesting things. Hopefully they all sort of stuck onto your brains, but what I really love is just showing you rather than telling you. So Rachelle, if you wouldn't mind just taking us through and showing us how easy it is to actually get all of this set up. Now, I actually don't have to go through Jamf Account for all of this to work, but it's just to showcase that I'm only using Jamf ID as the authority. So first of all, I'm logged in to Jamf Account with my user, Joseph Cooper, and I just wanted to show you that I am an organization admin. So I click on organization, and I've got my SSO set up, actually with nothing set up, and that's just to show you that I haven't set up an IDP in there. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to navigate to my Jamf Pro instance. I can do that either from the log screen on Jamf Account or directly through the URL, and I'm going to get myself signed in. You'll notice here that I'm signing in with a local administrator with a local admin and password combination. So now that I'm in there, I'm just going to go and check my settings, and I just wanted to once again reiterate that SSO is not currently enabled in my instance. Cool, so that's turned off. And I also want to show you that Blueprints, as a result, is not currently working, and I'm getting that big banner. So how about we fix it, right? I'm going to do something that's quite simple, but hopefully if you haven't implemented this in your environments yet, you'll see just how easy it is. So first, I'm going to create a brand new user by going back to settings, and I'm going to make sure that that user matches the credentials that I use as a Jamf ID. So in this particular case, I'm going to create a user with just a standard user with jcooper@jamfdemo.it. You'll obviously want to make sure that you're providing that user with full privileges if that's what you want to do with this particular user. And the one thing that I always mention as well is to make sure that the email matches and making sure that you've got the full name in there as well. The one part on this screen that actually doesn't matter too much is the password, because as we know, we're not going to use local login. We are just going to sign in with our Jamf ID once that's done. It's just, you can put in a random string for your password as long as it matches the passcode policy of Jamf Pro. And once all of that is done, I can click Save. What you don't realize is that I'm actually looking at a tiny version of what you can see there, but I'm trying to face you. Perfect. So we've created that user, fantastic. That's step number 1. Let's have a look at step number 2. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to enable SSO via Jamf Pro. And that means going into the setting, hitting the edit button, and simply selecting enabling SSO. You want to make sure, does this laser work? Yes. Okay, so Jamf account OIDC, I want to make sure that I allow authentication with Jamf ID. However, before you hit save or before you leave this page, just a little pro tip from me, make sure you scroll down, make a copy of that failover URL, because that's your way to get back into the instance, just in case SSO doesn't work for whatever reason. Perfect. Now that that's done, Rachelle, thank you very much. Would you mind just signing out and signing back in with J. Cooper's Jamf ID? So what you'll notice now when we go to the login page, yes, this is live, by the way. This isn't a recording. Perfect. So we see that we're actually now signed in directly with J. Cooper at jamfdemo.it. And if you wouldn't mind, Rachelle, just to cue us off, can you go back into Blueprints and make sure that it works? Yes, perfect. First demo went well. Let's see how the other ones go. So with that, I'll just leave you with a couple of benefits to take away from why this is important. There's a lot of different benefits, and you saw all of them today without realizing it, is that SSO is actually what ties all of these things together. So you have a single point of entry. You've got access to your entire platforms through App Switcher. All of the latest and greatest features that Jamf has to offer, well, you've got them in the palm of your hand. But also, you're making sure that you're future-proofing your entire setup. So with that, I'll pass it over to Rachelle.
So let's hope I will click in the right direction. In practice, I was going the other way. So Setup Manager. For those of you who were in Michael's session, you might have seen a little bit about this. And a bit of a preface, I will say setup a lot. Okay, so it will be a buzzword, maybe an additional bingo card. So with Setup Manager, what we have with Setup Manager is a great tool to ensure that we make that enrollment process as nice as possible, utilizing Apple's Setup Assistant. And you can configure it for that kind of user deployment. So maybe you want to have a white glove experience where you have a CEO or something that you kind of want to go, hey, you're special in my environment. Or maybe you have Mac labs in an education space, and you want to really make sure that we're locking that enrollment process up so that students don't start clicking away. Okay? Now, with Setup Manager, we can deploy shell commands. We can, maybe set the time zone. We can push out applications like Jamf Connect, Jamf Protect. We can do MS Office. Maybe not the full suite, but you never know. So we can really sort of cultivate that experience for that end user. Now with everything, it's about configuring, testing, and deploying. So Setup Manager, for those of you, I know there was a few hands that had been using it, so who's currently using it at the minute? Okay, so you'll be well versed, but there's a few people who this will be brand new information, so that's always good. So one of our pages called Jamf Concepts breaks out into GitHub, where Setup Manager lives. Now, essentially, it is a package and a configuration profile. Now, if you go to GitHub, there's an amazing admin guide. I do love my documentation, and people who know me know that well. And you can find some examples of configurations as well to help you on that journey. Now, in Jamf Pro, there is a native schema. So we can actually see how we can build out that process and that configuration profile. Okay? Now, in Jamf School, we can utilize tools like iMazing Profile Editor or other XML or plist editors to create the configuration profile, save it out, upload it into School. But what does that look like? So we use Jamf Pro as an example. So we can actually sort of have a look at the configuration profile. There's some enrollment actions, so we can make that whole experience look nice. We can utilize Installer-mator, where we're pulling certain application tool sets like Jamf Connect, potentially. We can do watch pass. So maybe if we're looking at App Store apps, we can say, has it landed on device, yes or no? Okay? Don't move on until it has. So really curating that experience. Now, for those testing, in the admin guide, there's some good sort of documentation of what can help you in that testing process. Command L gives you some logs, always good. And there's a debug mode, which is always handy as well. But what does that look like for the end user? So we're probably all very familiar with this experience, okay? Reaching out, Apple Business Manager, getting that MDM profile downloaded. Now, one of the things we can do is this is where Setup Manager can kick in. So we're really at the crux of it, okay? So we do a binary check, making sure that Jamf binary is on there, MDM profile's there, and we can push out your applications of choice. This has been sped up. I decided to push out like a few of the app suite, Microsoft suite. So, you know, depending on, it's like whizzing through, okay? But we also have Jamf Connect. You do need to have at least one setup assistance, so location services as it is. And then we can break out into Jamf Connect, and we can kick in with, you know, creating that local account on device. So it's really making that end user experience really, really nice and native. So having that kind of native schema in Jamf Pro, and, you know, amazing profile editor is always a good one as well, it makes it so you can really control what you're deploying. And it's not just limited to applications. We can obviously push out other toolings as well. Now, like with everything, I would start small, okay? We don't want to push out all our configurations. There might be a handful of use cases where this is actually going to be beneficial. Now, I will also mention documentation. If we're going to build out new workflows, it's always good to have documentation. Okay? You're not the only admin out there who might need to sort of tweak things. And regularly review your configurations. What is good for now might not be good forever, okay? So go through and see, okay, right, does this fit our need, our use case? And then we can kind of see how we can tweak going forward. So that's Setup Manager. Hopefully we can see some use cases internally. Maybe you just need a specific sort of department or team that might need to have this. But it's another sort of, I don't know, quiver in your bow. I'm really not very good when it comes to analogies, but here we are. But it's another sort of tool in your tool belt. That's better, isn't it? That you can use as and when you need it. And talking of tools, here's another one, and I don't mean you, Philippe.
Well, yes, thank you so much, Rachelle. I didn't even expect that one. That's not in the script. Okay, so let's turn our attention to Self-Service Plus. We've talked about Self-Service Plus a lot today, but I want to tell you about another little nugget of information, something that's a bit newer as well that you might not entirely know. But once again, that what-if question. What if we can centralize all applications? What if we could make the end-user experience just a little bit better? And we've got an app to rule them all, and that is our good friend, Self-Service Plus. So obviously, it provides key benefits to administrators because it means that you've only got a single app that you need to deploy. You obviously have better visibility into the security of your fleet. You've got an improved user experience, which basically means less tickets for you as well. And it also means that you've got a centralized resource distribution. What's quite nice about it as well is that for the end user, they've got better awareness of their security status. They've got some self-help features that they've got. And did we mention it's, well, going to be cross-platform as well. And it puts the power back into their hands. And I don't know about you, but I love a little timeline. So let's just do a little timeline, shall we? So let's just give a brief history of where Self-Service Plus started and where it is now and how it's come a long way. It was originally announced at JNL 2024 back in October. It then saw, after a public beta, an official release in January. And then in May, we introduced the Jamf Connect integration so that we had identity management in Self-Service Plus. And that takes us all the way to just about now with the release of version 2.3.0, which was released a couple of days ago. Now, The keen-eyed of you would have noticed that I put a cheeky little subtitle that said The Great Migration. Let me tell you why. It's because today I'm here to tell you a bit more about how to migrate to Self-Service Plus and how easy it is. But first I have to start with how maybe uneasy it might have been leading up to today. So this is just a very high-level overview of the steps that you had to go through in order to deploy Self-Service Classic between its launch and today. You have to download a package, upload that package to Jamf Pro, scope and deploy that package to the target devices, but also that doesn't get rid of Self-Service Classic, which means that if you want to replace it completely, you need to write a script which then uninstalls Self-Service Classic from the endpoints. All of that I know that you're more than capable of doing, but it's sometimes nicer when you can do something that's a bit easier. And that obviously changes from today. So that's what I'm here to tell you a bit more about. But first, let's go back to our timeline. And I'm just going to add a couple of more points to that. So with the release of Jamf Pro 11.18, and it will be rolling out in the next couple of days, but you might already be seeing this in your own instances, you will be able to deploy Self-Service Plus directly from within Jamf Pro. But this is also a good opportunity because this is a timeline. Just a little reminder for you, and that is that Self-Service Classic will be deprecated by the end of March 2026. So the reason why I'm asking you to migrate is just to make sure that you don't leave your end users behind. You want to make sure that they are supported. So Rachelle, if you don't mind, you're just going to show us another very quick demo. That's through the Jamf Pro dashboard. We've logged into Jamf Pro. We go over to our settings, but for those of you who've been deploying self-service for a long time, you probably think that I need to go to self-service to find Self-Service Plus. But it's now actually been relocated to the Jamf Apps section in our settings. And from there, I click on Self-Service Plus, click on the Edit button, enable Self-Service Plus, and hit Save. Remember those 4 steps that I told you about earlier? Well, those are all taken care of by this tick box. There's just a little thing that I wanted to tell you is that obviously if your computers aren't compatible with Self-Service Plus, so that's Monterey or earlier, don't worry, Jamf Pro will still handle deploying Self-Service Classic to those computers. And the end user experience after that is very simple. Self-Service Classic closes down, Self-Service Plus is then installed on the computer. As we saw, if you've got Jamf Connect, that menu bar item gets replaced. And everyone, and I mean everyone, is just the happiest that they can be. And obviously, if you've got any questions about this, don't forget the live lounge afterwards. So that was just a quick short fire round to remind you of the benefits of Self-Service Plus and why it's really important that you start thinking about the migration now rather than later, especially because now those things have been made just that much more easier. And with that, I'll pass it back over to Rachelle.
So we've managed to automate Self-Service Plus, which is great. It's kind of the feedback we've been getting. It's like, oh, it's a little bit clunky, okay? So we like our automations, right? So let me introduce you into some more Jamf routines, everybody. How this is going to be your best little helper. So what if you had some Jamf events that you kind of wanted to be notified in Slack or Teams or I don't know, WebEx. You can build out these automations that can actually help tie in your whole infrastructure. Maybe not whole, but majority of it. So we have a productivity tip for you. So if you haven't explored Jamf Routines yet, has anyone, hands up, who's heard of Jamf Routines? Okay, that's more people than I was expecting, so that's always a good thing. Our marketing team's doing a good job. It's like having a silent IT assistant that never sleeps. Poor thing. But it's automating those repetitive tasks that kind of just eat up those valuable time, which you could spend doing much better things, right? Like building out bigger infrastructure programs and helping those end users. Now, what I love about Jamf Routines is how it bridges our ecosystem. It links those ecosystems together. And it's not just about Jamf Pro or Security Cloud. It reaches beyond the walls, okay, to other third-party toolings. So one of my colleagues said to me, do you know what I think about Jamf Routines? I think it's like the IT conductor of an IT orchestra. Okay, well, that's a bit weird, but who am I to talk, right? We've all seen how good I am at analogies. But I was like, yeah, that's actually quite good. You know, it's sort of tying those things together and bringing all the tools that we're utilizing to actually make them work harmoniously together. And we have connections built in for quite a lot of different toolings, like Slack, Teams, Zendesk. All of these are kind of familiar tools that I'm sure at least one of them is going to be within your organization. And with each integration, it opens up new possibilities for automation. Now, we love to hear your feedback, positive and negative. Every day's a learning day. But we've also built into Jamf Routines the ability to suggest a template. Okay? The workflow challenges of today can actually be those standard workflows and templates of tomorrow. So if you think of something, if you utilize something that you think will be handy, then let us know and suggest a template. So what does this actually look like in process? So we have Jamf Routines here, and if we create one, we can see a long list of routines. Now this in itself, I remember when routines came out, there's about 6 of them. Okay, so this in itself shows that we are continuously adding and listening to your feedback. Now, I would like to be notified of something in Slack. Okay, so I can create that template. And that trigger for me is smart groups. Now, I will wax lyrical about smart groups till the cows come home because I really love it. Okay, like the endless examples of criteria points, you can really make it granular and specific for your use case. So I can then say maybe something's been added or removed from a smart group. I can then tie that in with our Slack channel. The reason why I giggle is because one of my colleagues who was testing this workflow out accidentally chose all Jamf. It kind of defaulted in the alphabetical order. So the whole of the company was notified when a device was enrolled in our instance. So just make sure you're verifying that Slack channel before we do anything else. And then we can actually build out a message that's actually going to be worthwhile. We have the ability to look at variables where we can actually add in those variables to say, okay, I'm not just getting that kind of run-of-the-mill generic message. It's actually going to be useful for the administrator. Now, as I say, start small with these routines. There might be like a long list of options, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do them all. I always say, if there's an integration that exists, doesn't necessarily mean you have to do it, okay? It could just be doing it for the sake of doing it. So be very specific. And I think we also know what I'm also going to say is document. That's right. So for those of you who aren't documenting your workflows right now, make sure that we're bringing that into our protocols as well so that our other IT admins can pick up where we left off, maybe tweak, review, give you some feedback. Now, why I love this is it's improving that consistency when it comes to device management. It's standardizing some of that feedback, automating that process. It can utilize those smart groups so effectively that you can really tailor it into your organizational needs. Now, again, review constantly or periodically about what those routines are doing, whether we've added new templates, whether the ones that you're using might be a little bit redundant, and sort of then tailor it into the way that your organization works. So hopefully, for those of you who haven't been using routines, you can kind of see some value, and we can then automate your world to your heart's delight. And next, we have...
All right, thank you so much, Rachelle. So next, let's bring our attention to mobile device lockdown and what that actually means. And we've talked about a couple of tools so far this afternoon, but now I just want to see how I can combine some of those tools together and maybe learn a thing or two along the way. So the what-if question that we ask ourselves is, what if we live in a highly regulated industry, and we work in a highly regulated industry, and we need to ensure that our devices are compliant? But we also want to make sure that we can provide users and administrators with real-time alerts for those policy violations. And based on those violations, we want to make sure that we can restrict corporate resource access, as well as enforce some advanced compliance options. So how does that look in terms of timeline? Oh, I love timelines. So what happens is a device triggers a smart group update based on a risk alert that we've noticed. And that's something that we've determined as an administrator means, this device is not compliant. Based on that, that will automate a restriction deployment onto that device, essentially locking it down to ensure that that device can no longer do what might have caused that original issue to begin with. What follows after that is the ability to isolate that device, and afterwards, the administrator can inspect that device, determine that it's good to go back into the general public, and then lift said restriction. That was it for my speech. Let's just have a look at what that looks like in real time. So here I've got an iPad from a user who is trying to access or was sent a link, a phishing link to a website. And as we can see, we've got on-device content filtering that kicks in and says that that device is restricted, that website is restricted, and that device should no longer be able to access said resource. I got scared there for a second. OK, so perfect. So as we noticed, this particular device, all the apps have been taken off the home screen, and we're now met with a big message, a big warning, letting us know that something's not the way that it should be. And as a user, I can tell that something's not right. So what's been happening behind the scenes is that in the Jamf Security Cloud, that device, based on the fact that it accessed a phishing link, was given a risk score. And based on that risk score, that information was then sent back to Jamf Pro. Jamf Pro then added or changed an extension attribute, which then triggers putting that device into a smart group, which then deploys a wallpaper, changes the home screen layout, and hides all of the applications. And obviously, the administrator is notified. But I want you to think slightly beyond the admin experience. Think about the end-user experience. So if ever you're thinking of implementing a workflow like this one, maybe consider creating different colored backgrounds, wallpapers, for various risk levels to provide users with a clear visual indication of the severity of the security issue that happened there. I actually quite like the traffic light system. I think it works universally, so red, orange, and green. But yeah, that can also reflect the apps that have been withdrawn. Now, obviously, if ever you're testing this particular workflow, an easy way for us to fix that is to clear the extension attribute from Jamf Pro, which is in the inventory. And as we can see, an immediate response, that device has now got its apps that have been coming back. I've got my access, and my wallpaper is back to the way that it was supposed to be. So that was just a quick demo, but it shows you the power of the link between the various tools that we've got to offer. So, like I said, this particular approach combines things such as automated detection, immediate response, visual feedback, access control, as well as administrative oversight. But I really want you to think about how can I make use of this as an opportunity to teach my users, train them to avoid these particular issues from happening in the future again. And with that, I will pass it back over to Rachelle.
Oh, this is the doozy.
Oh, yeah.
So,
come on, demigods, be with us.
Automated network isolation. So, how can we utilize webhooks to ensure that we can manage and secure your devices? So sometimes there can be a little bit of a disconnect between the management team and security teams. A few nods, and we're kind of feeling that pain. So what if you could be alerted by a security tool, and then your management tool then kind of does a remediation, and then maybe you want to push out some sort of like in-the-moment aftermath sort of like log collection tooling, but also we might want to limit access to network as well. So we're kind of looking at that full Jamf platform experience. I know, right? This sounds amazing, Rachelle. I hear you say it's fine. Well, how do we actually go about making this a reality? So again, buckle up. So we're going to open up Safari and we're going to highlight that we have full access.
Where should I go?
Oh, gambling.com?
I feel like gambling today.
Yeah, you
I feel like today's a gamble, just hoping that this demo goes well. So yes, let's see.
OK, so we have access, right? So there's no content filtering policies in place. Level setting. So I would like you to take a screenshot for me.
OK, that sounds a bit ominous, but let's give it a shot.
OK, so we've got a screenshot. Now, I have utilized our behavioral analytics from macOS Security Portal to actually say, screenshots, no thank you, they're not allowed in my organization. Now, I built our remediation where it will then move that device into a smart group within Pro. And because I'm mean, I've said, no thank you, deleted that screenshot. But because I'm nice, I've told them why. So I've given them a nice little Jamf helper window to say, screenshots have been forbidden. Okay? And maybe there's going to be a compliance training down the road. So if we just pop over to Pro, we can kind of see what's happening behind the scenes. So in our smart group, we now have that device that's fallen into Jamf Protect High Alert, high risk. Okay? Now, what that's actually triggered is a webhook UEM sync into Security Cloud, which therefore has moved that device. Just going too quickly for you. Yabba, yabba, yabba. So that's the extension attribute. And if we go to Security Cloud, we can see that UEM sync saying, OK, well, I'm a device. I live in a different smart group now. Because of that UEM connect, I can map that Protect High group into Restricted Internet Access group. So we can see how we can tie all that functionality together. So what I've actually done is I have got an alert that's been flagged by my security tooling, macOS Security Portal. It's then said, OK, well, you've moved into another group now. Again, why I love smart groups. And then it's triggered that webhook. It's then say, hey, security cloud, I live somewhere else now, move me accordingly. So that mapping really comes in handy. Now, the policies that I've put in place are, I've blocked pretty much most content filtering policies, as well as the ZTNA solution of access into our corporate resources as well. Okay? So we can really utilize this to then trim that down. Now, I know screenshots a little bit draconian, but it was the easiest one that I could trigger to say, this is how easy it is. But we have lots of detections and behavioral detections within macOS Security Cloud. I've just combined both of them together. Well, maybe that's what we should do. And we also have custom analytics as well available on our GitHub. So now, if we go back to gambling.com, fingers crossed, hope someone sacrificed a goat to the demo gods, we will be able to see that that is now...
Not...
OK, where's the goat?
So let's just pretend like the web page.
No,
yeah.
There was some caching issues, but
some caching. It's always DNS, right? That's what we say.
Yeah, where's our networking team? If it does take a little bit of a time to kind of hit. We've kind of been testing, well, with good Wi-Fi and good internet, and it has been taking about a minute and a half. Now, I also have built in some additional processes as well. That would be to clear the cache, quit Safari. It's like, it's like, do I need to do a dance or something? I don't know. I did tap when I was 5, so maybe that will help. But we can kind of have a look at the smart groups.
Well, I mean, we've pretty much confirmed, yeah, that the smart group is correct. I mean, you can see from the back end, you're all administrators, you can tell, right? It's in the right group that it's supposed to be in for sure. Yeah.
So if we, I don't know, I'm a tryhard. So if we can kind of see that it's restricted, hop back into gambling.com, maybe try.
Maybe just, if you can take people through what's actually supposed to be happening, I'll get this device.
Should we close the curtain sort of beyond the Wizard of Oz? So what we have essentially is built into this whole policy. Okay, it's based on that trigger. So it's kind of saying, okay, right, I live in a new group now, and then at this point. And if I was to tell you that this worked seamlessly, and I will say seamlessly, maybe that's why, it's 20 minutes before we did it.
Yeah. Someone here is fiddling with the cables. Yeah.
So everyone close your eyes, imagine a block page. I don't know, do you want to try it again?
Oh, yeah, I mean, we can take them through the workflow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, that workflow, you can see, right, it's been blocked. There's an X there. That's all, we've taken that through. So we're doing that sync. So it has, you've seen, right, that group, the device has been moved into that different group within Pro. It's done that sync into Security Cloud, and we're just kind of playing the waiting game a little bit. Now, the next step on this process of when we, can you tell that I'm like kind of waiting to see like a thumbs up from Philippe? Oh, no, really?
Oh, sorry.
When we see that process, I bet you, as soon as we click back, it's then going to block, and then it's going to do the same thing with the remediation. But, here we are. But you can kind of see how this really can sort of build out that process internally, okay? So when we're talking, as I say, we have screenshots, but we have a whole host of other analytics. It could be reverse shell. You can decide on certain ones. If you head over to our GitHub page, custom analytics is really easy to do as well. So it's a case of just copying and pasting pretty much from our GitHub page into the custom analytics section, then adding that to a plan or configuration profile, and then deploying to your relevant team. Now, you don't need to be so severe, but what we are seeing is how we are getting notified by an alert. We can then tie that in with other remediation factors, being it, deleting that script, pushing out Jamf Helper. If your department or your organization likes Swift UI, then you can also utilize that as well. But you have the control on that environment. Now, you also might want to then... Okay.
Just carry on. You know what? 5 out of 6 demos, it's not bad. I'm actually quite happy with that.
Now, you can also build in remediation as well. So essentially what it's doing on the back end, it's giving that an extension attribute from protect, and it is saying, OK, that's how it's moving into that smart group. Okay? You can build out a remediation where it will clear that extension attribute. So where you saw high, it will then remove that. It will then do another UEM sync, because obviously it's moved groups at that point. It'll be moving back into secure devices. And then it will then tell Security Cloud that we're hunky-dory and we are back on track, and it's now in secure devices as well. And on the back end of that, we have policies where it's allow all, and we have access to our corporate resources as well. Now, you can also build in alerts or notifications into Slack directly from Protect. That's also a really good tooling you can do, where with Slack, any alert, so maybe it's like all the high ones, you actually want to get that automation, that notification into Slack as well. So we can kind of see the flow. We can kind of see what the use cases are. Live demo gods weren't on our side, but that's fine. But we can kind of see, we do have documentation on how to build this out, and we can kind of see what those use cases can be like. You might be in a highly regulated area where you do need to lock things down. Okay, you can build out when your networks are always good, you can kind of build out the additional factors of like clearing the cache, killing the browser as well, to kind of get that functionality sorted. Keep it going, Rachelle.
One of those days, yeah.
As soon as we get to the end, we'll then probably say, OK, it's blocked, sweet, happy days, we'll show you. But the long-term benefits of that is like for those high-severity risks, that automated workflow of that network isolation. You can customize those policies. So maybe you don't want to block everything within content filtering. You may want to sort of block everything for your access policies for ZTNA. But again, you can customize the way it's being detected and what that remediation process is, and also what the block policies are as well. Now, one failed live demo, but hey, that's fine. We've had a day of live demos, so you've been spoiled for choice. So we're going to give you some quick-fire, more additional toolings, because we love an integration and some automations. So one thing I would say, well, there's probably going to be quite a few things I would say. Check out Jamf Marketplace for all of our integrations. I wasn't paid by Kieran or Jesh, but it's a good place to head out and see our new integrations and how they can help you. Also, Jamf Concepts, I know it's kind of been mentioned a couple of times, but it's also good things. good page to sort of see what we're doing behind the scenes to make your lives a bit easier. And it would be remiss of me if I didn't mention AppleSeed for IT. Okay, with Tahoe coming around the bend, it's a good place to make sure that you're being proactive about your environment, and all those goodies that WWDC kind of gave us. And we can kind of see how we can utilize AppleSeed. For those of you who haven't seen it, I'm sure you've probably all heard of it. But yeah, I would definitely recommend going and checking it out. And as we talk about Apple Beta, let's talk about Jamf Beta. Again, Tahoe AppleSeed program goes hand in hand with our beta program as well. So pop over through Jamf account and enroll in our product betas. This is a way that you can kind of get insight into what Jamf's focus is, and then maybe you can build in some additional workflows yourself. Also, Jamf Check, an amazing tool that's built by one of our Jamfs called Tice. He's a dream. It's an excellent tool that helps troubleshoot devices out there in the wild. So you can deploy it as an application available in the App Store. You can deploy it to device. And maybe if, say, you're trying to support someone remotely, either on the phone or utilizing remote assist, you can kind of get some feedback, maybe some device information. It's across Pro, Connect, and Protect as well. So it does give you some handy information about the status of the device, so you don't end up going down a bit of a rabbit hole. Now, I have mentioned it a couple of times, but the Protect GitHub, I would probably say the Jamf GitHub. If you haven't looked at it, it's kind of a good place to kind of go. But Protect specifically, you can get some good configurations, some custom analytics, which I've mentioned so many times, unified log filters, and much more to enhance that whole security management and network flow. So definitely go and check that out. Now, you've probably heard a lot about blueprints, declarations, DDM. So we have our DDM Explorer. So DDM Explorer allows you to explore, surprisingly. Apple's DDM, GitHub, and components. Now, it is in beta, okay? So if you do check it out, it's a good GUI representation currently of certain declarations that are available. In the next iteration, coming soon, as kind of vague as I'd like to be, we are looking to see how we can connect the application with Jamf Pro so you can test your declarations on those enrolled devices. So always kind of handy to have an additional tool set to find out the new cool things that end up coming down at us. Now, that's a lot.
Yeah, speaking of cool things, thank you so much, Rachelle. Wow, I don't know how you manage so much information packed in all of that time. Do you want to know the worst thing is that it now bloody works. Anyway, so I want to leave you with a couple of tips, a couple of resources, because all of this work took a long time, but we did all of this for you. And I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for coming today, for joining this particular session. All of the resources that we have collated to actually put these slides together, we've put on this particular website on a single page. So please go and check it out. And obviously, if ever at any point you need any help with getting any of this set up, you've already checked them out, but go have a chat with us at the professional services booth. And with that, I'm going to say a huge thank you. Thank you, Rachelle.
Really?
Thanks from me, thanks from you. And thanks for another wonderful JNL. Thank you so much.